So welcome to today's session on creating a buyer persona or audience. Persona, part of our target audience series. If you haven't had a chance to connect with us, that's myself. I am fractional CMO at Acorn Studio Marketing. LinkedIn is a great place to find me. Emily Watson is our creative director, and she's currently out taking a professional hiatus, but please do connect with her. She is available online. We do have a Facebook group. QR code is there if you want to hang out, and also to follow us at Acorn Studio Marketing. Please do sign up. We have a weekly email list that goes out and a monthly one as well. And this is the download that we're going to be referencing for our live audience. The link is in the chat, or you guys can find it here at the QR code, and it's a guide and a whole bunch of templates on building out your target audience. And last week, if you have missed them or you want to reference them again, our first one was defining your target audience. Week 2 was getting to know your ideal client. And today it's all about refining it and getting it down into creating that buyer persona. So audience profiles, empathy map, the persona profile, those are the steps we're going to cover. We'll review some, we'll talk more about the empathy map, persona profile, what is it? We are going to use an ideal client as well. And then Garden Grows is the example we'll show you, and then some tips on how you can use your persona profile. So that first section, step 1, right? We want to know who all our stakeholders are. That is the big thing, just who are those people that are part of our success in our organization. Step 2 is that segment. So now we get to chunk it down: primary, secondary, and tertiary. And we reviewed this last week. This is in the template, and this is in a Sheets format, an Excel format. You can have this in whatever works best for you. But if it's a star there, because if you have to do just one thing and you're constrained for time, I recommend filling out this form. And that basically takes you through all the audience, your age, your gender, your psychographic, geographic, all those key things, as well as the empathy map is in there. And that will take you there. That's an example that we had is in there as well. So what you want to do is take your primary audience and your secondary audience and just take some time and fill it out, and then keep it quick at hand. There are other things to do as well, but if you are limited with time, I do recommend doing this one. An empathy map is a tool used to gain a deeper understanding of a target audience, right, or your customer, by exploring their thoughts, feelings, needs, and behaviors. It's typically done in a visual way to represent and help your business and organization really connect with them, have an empathy and insight into their experiences and their perspectives. And so why do we even do that? Well, by enhancing our empathy and understanding our audience, we really get to shift our focus away from us and into them. And because it's really us serving them, so we really want to get that perspective and understanding. And so that understanding that audience's perspective helps us get a deeper understanding. And going through this exercise will help inform our marketing, and we get into helping understand decisions, like even just what products we're going to sell. How are we going to do that? We're going to have effective communications, not just from a strategy standpoint, but when we get right into creating marketing campaigns. And that's where their persona that we're going to talk about today, you'll have your big segments, but when you really get in and you really understand what makes them tick and what motivates them to do things, what are the challenges, that's when your marketing and your communication is going to really be focused on them, and it's going to get it done. Best return on investment, right? It also, by getting into their mindset, their motivations, and their challenges, it helps us be innovative, right? Which also helps us step away from our competition, right? When your customers or your buyers or your audience really believes that you understand them, then all of a sudden now they're going to connect with you, you're going to get feedback, and you're going to start to think outside the box. So, decision making, effective communication, and problem solving are just some of the reasons why we take that time to really understand our audience. And so, what is it? Basically, at the end of the day, it answers a few questions. What does your audience say? What does your audience think? What do they do? And how do they feel? Now, what it is, make sure it's targeted to what you need them to do. So you're going to understand when we talked about our Garden Grows company, and they're moving into a landscape design. Like you think about the context and the situation, and what do they say regarding that situation. So make sure it's within context on how you're going to use it. So beyond that, we also want to talk about what are their challenges and what are their motivators. And in the template, you will see something a lot like this. It's a very typical style that you will see for exercises. You can print it out, you can write them in, you can use post-it notes. It's a great way to use brainstorming. We also use a program called Miro, miro.com. There's a lot of online whiteboarding, perhaps, or else you just have physical post-it notes. But in the template there, you will have something that's printable. There's also one that you can put in for your Google Sheets, and you can just fill it all in. So whatever works for you, you just have to make it happen. And whether it's yourself as a solopreneur or your team, it's a really good thing to bring everyone to the table and start to talk it through and do some brainstorming. And this ultimately is where we want to head up. Now, if you can just do the others, that's great. A persona profile, you start to actually put a real person. People sometimes call these avatars, and you will give someone an actual name, right? Like you will start to put in the details, and that's what this is. Now, in this section, the one that's in your template, there are certain headings that are in there. You'll see something called messaging, strategy, values, and goals. They're not always the same. There's some basic stuff, but you customize it based on your business and your needs. So the situation that we have in the example that we have for Garden Grows, basically what we have given you is a project brief at the beginning with goals, target audience, and the methodology. And so make sure when you're doing your exercises, whether it's for a marketing campaign or maybe you're selling a new product, do write down your project brief. Give it context so that everyone who comes to the table or even yourself, you do stay focused on that. And then you start to fill out that sheet. It will look very similar to your audience primary and secondary, but now you're giving this person a real name. So for the example here, we just called her Emily Thompson, age 35. Now in the audience segment, the primary and the secondary, we gave an age range. This persona is more specific. So you get very specific, you give this person a name, an age, where do they live, how many children do they have, what's their degree, their education level, entertainment. So you're starting to paint out this story of who this person is because it becomes more real and you'll be able to reference it for when you need it. And then is included in that is your empathy map. So what do they think? What do they do? What do they hear and what do they feel? And we give this person, again, every time we write this, it will be Emily values a well-designed garden, or Emily feels enthusiastic and passionate about gardening, or what does she hear that landscape design services through word of mouth recommendations really makes me feel happy, or I'm hearing this from my neighbors. And what do they do? I'm so busy, I want to hang out with my kids, but I would love to go shopping for landscape design services, whatever that might be. And I am just totally making that up, but all the reference points are there in the template for you to get an example. Just remember that this is for one specific person who is now going to be your avatar. And you can take that and you will see things like this often where we turn this into this nice one sheet that's easily referenced. You can print it out. You just want to make sure that you have it, whether it's digital or print, and you want to have it with all the relevant information for you. And through this exercise, I actually just created this on Canva. Make it pretty, but make it make sense for you. So this person that we picked, that Emily Thompson, I created all the information there. I bolded it. I really wanted that to be important. If you go over to the buying behavior and lifestyle goals, I decided to bold that because I want to make sure I constantly pay attention to that. A day in the life, haven't got to that yet. Obviously, maybe it's something I'll print out and actually handwrite it in to make it more valuable for me. So all of those things, and it's not done. It's on Canva. I'm happy to share the template for anyone who wants it. And you just want to make sure that it's there and it's accessible. And how are we going to use this? So once we have this, it's available. Marketing strategy, planning, and tactics. Every time you need to create messaging, you're going to write something, you're going to go through a new campaign, please do reference this. Now, if you decide that you're going to have a whole new campaign for someone else, maybe it's not the 35-year-old in this target audience. Perhaps it's one from a secondary audience that you're going to focus on, or it's someone else within that spectrum. You could have more than one persona. So remember that the persona is there, but there could be multiple ones. Product development, customer experience. Maybe you want to improve customer experience because you are only getting 4-star review ratings. Maybe you want 5-star. Content creation, sales tactics, pricing strategy. All of these are really important to know who your audience is. Make sure you're competitive, mitigate risks, and even to know how you're going to allocate your resources. So knowing your audience and getting that specific can be very helpful. So key takeaways, spend time. Please do get to know your target audience. It's not always going to stay the same, but really you do need to take the time, at least in the strategy session, create those milestones and review them. You're probably going to have more than one persona profile. They can be used more than just during your strategy, once a year strategy session. Use them for sales, customer journey. Anytime you're connecting with your audience, please do pull it out. Revisit it often because it quite often will change, right? Environments change, they change. All of that is important. Have it accessible and reference it as needed. And make sure you share this with your team. If you're bringing in a marketing consultant or a business consultant or a financial consultant, or you have a sales team or your customer experience people, maybe you have a retail store where it's front line. So for example, Garden Grows is a garden center that has a landscape design services. If you go through all of this and you're the landscape designer, why not share that with your front-facing retailers and have an opportunity to do that? So now they're going to be top of mind to think about selling your services. So do think outside the box, reference it often, and make sure you share it.